You've been lied to. Every day you wake up, grind, save a little, spend a little, and wonder why the gap between you and the wealthy grows wider. You think you're doing everything right. You're working harder, playing by the rules, waiting patiently for your turn. But here's the brutal truth. Your turn is never coming. Because money does not reward fairness. Money rewards power, and power is never given. It is taken. This is why you stay broke. You still believe in the stories you were fed, that if you study hard, work hard, stay humble, and save diligently, fortune will one day smile on you. But fortune is not a smiling goddess. Niccolo Machiavelli wrote 5 centuries ago that fortune is like a violent woman, and if you wish to master her, you cannot beg, you must strike boldly. He didn't mean recklessness. He meant commitment. The refusal to scatter yourself across a dozen half-finished paths. The refusal to wait politely while others seize what you secretly think you deserve. The refusal to hesitate while life passes you by. Look around you. Who gets rich? It's not the smartest. Geniuses die poor every day. It's not the hardest workers. Laborers break their bodies for pennies, while billionaires sip wine in glass towers. It's not even the luckiest. Lottery winners lose it all within years. So what is it? It's strategy. Cold, disciplined, Machiavellian strategy. The rich know what the poor never learn. Money is not neutral. It is not passive. It is not just a number on a screen. Money is a weapon. In the hands of the weak, it slips away. In the hands of the strong, it multiplies. And that weapon only belongs to those willing to detach from illusions. This is where your transformation begins. Not with tips and hacks, not with motivational fluff, but with dangerous knowledge. The kind that will make you unreadable, untouchable, unstoppable in the pursuit of wealth. Ask yourself, how many times have you worked harder than the man above you, only to watch him reap the rewards? How many times have you poured hours into a job, a side hustle? Machiavelli once wrote, "Men forget more easily the death of their father than the loss of their patrimony." In other words, money cuts deeper than blood. Wealth is survival. It is power. And the rulers of history have always understood this. The wealthy do not hope. They do not wait. They engineer systems where other people's time, labor, and emotions feed into their fortress. And unless you see the game for what it is, you will remain prey, forever trapped in someone else's empire. This is why you're here, to see through the illusions. Over the next few minutes, I will reveal Machiavelli's forbidden principles of wealth. Laws so sharp, they cut through the myths you were raised on. Laws that explain why you stay broke, why others rise, and how you can finally cross the line between prey and predator. But first, understand this. Most people will never escape. They are too emotional, too predictable, too soft. They live and die as prey. The question is, will you? You've been told since childhood that hard work is the path to wealth. But look around you. Is that true? The hardest workers in the world, construction workers, miners, farmers, factory laborers, do they sit in mansions? Do they retire early? Do their children inherit empires? No. They break their backs for scraps while someone else profits from their sweat. This is the first illusion you must shatter. Hard work doesn't make you rich. Hard work keeps you broke. Niccolo Machiavelli warned rulers never to spread their armies too thin. Defend too many fortresses, and you defend none. The same law applies to wealth. The man who scatters his energy across endless tasks and hustles may feel busy, but he is weak. His strength bleeds into the dirt. His fortress crumbles. The wealthy understand this. They are not the busiest people in the room. They are the most focused. They commit to a fortress, one business, one system, one leverage point, and they defend it until it multiplies into an empire. Think of Jeff Bezos. He didn't become the richest man in the world by dabbling in restaurants one month, real estate the next, and gadgets the month after. He obsessed over a single fortress, an online bookstore, until it became Amazon, a kingdom spanning the globe. Think of Warren Buffett. He didn't chase every trend, every shiny stock, every passing fad. He anchored himself to one philosophy of value investing and held it for decades. While the herd rushed from one opportunity to the next, Buffett endured the boredom of discipline and transformed it into billions. Meanwhile, the streets are littered with the corpses of entrepreneurs who chased everything, committed to nothing, and ended with less than they began. And here's where Machiavelli's insight cuts deeper. The illusion of safety is the most dangerous trap. Most men think diversifying early makes them secure. They scatter across jobs, hustles, and half-built projects to reduce risk. But in truth, they only reduce their power. A ruler who cannot defend one fortress loses his state. A man who cannot defend one business, one path, one idea, will lose. Machiavelli wrote that fortune is like a raging river. She destroys those who hesitate, but she yields to those who prepare. Most people are swept away by her floods because they never built walls strong enough to resist her storms. They flee at the first sign of difficulty, abandoning their path to chase another glittering promise. A new job, a new business, a new scheme. And every time they start over, they reset the clock. They never endure long enough to see fortune bend. This is why you stay broke. Because every time discomfort arrives, you run. You start again. You chase novelty. You confuse motion with progress. And you never realize that fortune rewards only those who endure her cruelty long enough to break through. Ask yourself honestly, how many projects have you started and abandoned? How many times have you fled when the valley of despair arrived? When results didn't come fast enough? When the pain grew too sharp? When doubt whispered that maybe this wasn't for you? And what happened each time? You reset the clock. You went back to uninformed optimism, chasing the thrill of a fresh start, never realizing you had trapped yourself in an endless loop. This is the cycle Machiavelli warned of. Hope, despair, abandonment, repeat. The cycle that keeps men broke for decades, while convincing them they are making progress. But there is another path. A rare few endure. They burn the boats, cut away all other options, and commit fully to their fortress. They accept the storms, the delays, the humiliations, and they push through while others flee. And when the dust clears, they stand alone on the battlefield. Not because they were smarter, luckier, or even harder working, but because they refused to scatter their strength. Wealth is not built by effort. It is built by focus. Until you understand this, every ounce of your labor will enrich someone else's empire. If focus is the foundation of wealth, the next question is, how do you protect it? Because once you choose a fortress, once you dare to commit, the world will try to break you. Competitors will test you. Opportunists will manipulate you. Fortune will tempt you with distractions. This is where Machiavelli's darker principles emerge. These are not the polite rules you've been taught. These are weapons. And if you wield them, you become untouchable. Law 1. Weaponize silence. Most people think wealth is won by talking, pitching, persuading, begging, proving themselves. They expose their desperation like a stench. But silence is pressure. Silence bends people. In negotiation, in deals, in boardrooms, the one who can stay quiet holds the blade. Why? Because humans fear silence. It forces them to reveal themselves. They rush to fill the void with excuses, concessions, even secrets. And every word they spill gives you leverage. This is why the wealthy remain calm while others scramble. They don't chase. They let others bleed information. They watch, then strike when the moment is right. Understand this. Every time you talk to prove your worth, you lose worth. Every time you overshare, you hand someone else your map. Silence turns you from prey into predator. But silence alone is not enough. Law 2. Become unreadable. Even if you say nothing, you can still be read. Most people wear their emotions like a mask glued to their skin. Fear, greed, insecurity. All broadcasted in their voice, their posture, their eyes. And predators, the ones who own the game, pick this up instantly. They know when you're desperate. They know when you're bluffing. They know exactly how to squeeze you until you break. If you want to escape poverty, you must become unreadable. A ghost. No one should sense your next move. When you strip away emotional tells, when you master stillness, you stop being a pawn. You become the one moving the pieces. Think about it. A man who cannot be read cannot be predicted. A man who cannot be predicted cannot be controlled. That man is dangerous. Law 3. Master predators' patience. Most people are impulsive. They chase trends. They gamble on hype. They want fast money, fast results, fast validation. And in their impatience, they become prey for those who wait. The wealthy move like predators in tall grass. They don't waste energy on every rustle. They wait for the perfect moment, when fear grips the herd, when panic floods the market, when opportunity opens wide. Then they pounce. This is why they buy when others panic, why they hold when others sell, why they expand when others retreat. Patience is not weakness. It is a blade, a weapon sharper than any impulse. But patience requires discipline, and discipline is exactly what most people lack. They would rather have the sweet rush of novelty than the cold satisfaction of control. That is why you see fortunes vanish overnight, because people mistake movement for power. But predators know better. They know that standing still can be the most violent move of all. Silence, unreadability, patience. 3 laws that separate the weak from the strong, the prey from the predator, the broke from the rich. And once you wield them, you stop bleeding energy into the world. You stop being predictable. You stop being consumed. But these are only the first steps, because wealth is not only about protecting yourself. It is about positioning yourself so that other people's energy flows into you without resistance. Law 4. The power of leverage. Most men believe wealth is earned by effort. They imagine the rich work harder, longer, smarter. That's only a half-truth. The real secret is positioning, placing yourself so that other people's labor, money, and time flow through you, whether you move or not. Think about it. An employee works 8 hours, and the fruits of his labor rise upward to his boss. A tenant works to pay rent, and his income flows into the landlord's pocket. A customer spends $1, and a fraction of it strengthens a corporation. The wealthy are not superhuman. They are simply positioned above the flow. Machiavelli warned rulers never to scatter their forces across too many fronts. Focus your strength in one fortress, and then position others to serve it. That is leverage. Leverage is why Bezos sells books for pennies while harvesting billions in data, logistics, and loyalty. Leverage is why Buffett earns while he sleeps, as thousands of companies work for him at once. Leverage is why one landlord grows wealthy, while generations of tenants remain poor. The poor trade hours, the rich trade positions. And here is the brutal truth. If you trade only your time, you will always be broke, because time cannot multiply. But positions can, systems can, people can. Leverage is empire. Without it, you are a soldier. With it, you are a king. Law 5, the law of narrative. But leverage alone is fragile. Systems collapse if people withdraw their trust. Labor disappears if people lose belief. This is why the next weapon is just as important. Narrative. Wealth doesn't flow to the best product. It flows to the best story. Humans are not rational. They are guided by symbols, myths, appearances. That's why religions command armies, why brands become cults, why politicians raise millions with words alone. The wealthy know this. They don't sell what something is. They sell what something means. Apple doesn't sell phones. It sells identity. Tesla doesn't sell cars. It sells revolution. Luxury brands don't sell fabric. They sell status. Law 6. The law of illusion. If narrative is the story, illusion is the stagecraft. It is the art of turning shadows into gold. Look around. A diamond is a rock, yet illusion makes it priceless. A luxury brand stitches cotton, yet illusion makes it worth thousands. Paper currency is worthless without belief, yet illusion makes nations obey it. Illusion creates value from air. And the masters of illusion, the storytellers, the marketers, the image makers, extract fortunes while others mock them as dishonest. But here's the truth. Honesty doesn't build empires. Appearances do. Machiavelli warned rulers to cloak their true intentions, to act ruthlessly in private, but to project virtue in public, to be merciless in reality, but merciful in appearance. The wealthy obey this law instinctively. They craft illusions of scarcity, of luxury, of transformation, and people line up, begging to be deceived. Because people want illusions. They crave them. They pay for them. And those who sneer at illusion as fake remain broke, because they don't understand that money follows perception, not reality. Now, see how these weapons combine. Leverage turns other people into your resource. Narrative makes them want to serve you. Illusion makes them pay more than they should, grateful to do it. That is the machinery of wealth. That is how empires are carved. Not through effort, not through fairness, but through position, story, and stagecraft. But there is more. Because even with leverage, narrative, and illusion, fortune still has one more trick. She tempts you with novelty, with distraction, with the sweet rush of beginnings. To escape her, you must learn the last and harshest weapons: exploitation, substitution, and withholding. Law 7. Exploitation as realism. Most men recoil at the word exploitation. They imagine cruelty, injustice, corruption. They tell themselves, "I would never exploit another human being." But exploitation, stripped of emotion, is nothing more than this: identifying unused value and extracting it. The wealthy do this relentlessly. They see gaps, weaknesses, inefficiencies, and they harvest them before anyone else notices. When markets crash and the masses panic, the predator exploits fear by buying cheap. When attention is wasted in endless scrolling, the predator exploits distraction by capturing it, monetizing it, and selling it back as profit. When labor is undervalued, the predator exploits the gap, building systems where others work harder than they're paid, and the difference flows upward. This is not cruelty. This is clarity. Because if you refuse to exploit, someone else will exploit you. Machiavelli warned that princes who fail to seize opportunities are devoured by those who do. The same law applies to money. Exploitation is not optional. It is survival. Law 8, the law of substitution. The poor always substitute labor for money. If I just work harder, I'll earn more. This is the fool's exchange, the one that keeps you broke. Because labor is finite. Hours cannot multiply. And by trading them, you sell the only thing you cannot get back: your life. The wealthy substitute differently. They exchange ideas for labor, perception for value, influence for action. One man digs a ditch and earns a wage. Another man organizes 10 men to dig 10 ditches and earns 10 times as much, without touching a shovel. Who is richer? Machiavelli warned rulers never to rely only on their own arms, but to use others whenever possible. The same is true in wealth. The rich substitute their vision for your sweat, their strategy for your time, their influence for your loyalty. That is why you stay broke. You keep substituting time for money. The rich substitute perception for wealth. Law 9, the law of withholding. But exploitation and substitution are dangerous if you bleed too much of yourself. Which is why the third law, perhaps the most Machiavellian of all, is withholding. The weak reveal everything. They overshare, they explain, they justify. They broadcast their plans, their fears, their limits, and in doing so, they hand away leverage. The wealthy reveal almost nothing. They master the art of partial disclosure, feeding just enough to spark desire, curiosity, dependence, but never enough to be predictable. Think of a negotiation. The average man blurts out his price, his bottom line, his desperation. The predator withholds. He waits. He listens. He calculates. By the time he speaks, the other side is already trapped. Withholding creates mystery. Mystery creates power. Power creates wealth. This is why the richest men appear silent, enigmatic, even aloof. They aren't hiding because they're weak. They're hiding because visibility is vulnerability. The moment people can predict you, they can control you. Machiavelli knew this well. He advised rulers to cloak their intentions, to act ruthlessly in private, but appear virtuous in public. This is the art of withholding in practice. Never let the world know your full hand. The trinity of darkness. See how these three combine. Exploitation turns waste into wealth. Substitution multiplies value without labor. Withholding shields your fortress from exposure. Together, they form the invisible machinery of wealth, the part most people never see because they're too busy revealing, reacting, wasting. Law 10, ruthless patience. Fortune is a river, calm one year, violent the next. She sweeps away bridges, cities, and men who built without foresight. Machiavelli warned that only those who build dikes and channels survive her floods. Translated into wealth, patience is not passive, it is survival. Look at history. The Medici family consolidated their banking empire not in a decade, but across generations. Amazon bled money for years before it became unassailable. Tesla burned billions before reshaping industries. Meanwhile, the impatient drown. The gambler who chases quick gains loses everything. The entrepreneur who pivots endlessly never builds depth. The worker who quits at the valley of despair repeats the same failures for decades. Patience is not waiting. It is enduring storms without fleeing, holding the fortress when others abandon theirs. That is why fortune eventually crowns the patient. Discipline as the weapon of kings. Patience without discipline is laziness. Discipline without patience is burnout. Together, they forge empires. Discipline is what keeps you grinding when emotions scream to quit. It is what wakes you early, sharpens your focus, denies you comfort, and trains your mind to resist the sweet poison of distraction. Machiavelli warned rulers that armies without discipline collapse, no matter how strong. Your habits are your army. Without discipline, they will betray you. With discipline, they will defend your throne. The poor crave comfort, the rich crave control. That is the difference. Legacy, the final fortress. But even patience and discipline are not enough unless you anchor them in something greater. Legacy. Most men vanish. They are born, they drift, they die. And within a generation, no one remembers their name. Why? Because they built nothing that endured. Legacy is not fame. It is not applause. It is weight. It is the mark you leave when your voice is gone. It is the shadow that lingers when your body is dust. The poor chase quick pleasures and leave no echo. The predator builds slowly, relentlessly, until his fortress is too heavy to be erased. Machiavelli himself never regained power in his lifetime. He died. This is not motivation. This is war. Most will never dare to wield these weapons. They will stay prey, emotional, predictable, trapped in illusions of fairness and comfort. But if you dare to apply them, quietly, relentlessly, you will rise above the herd. You will stop chasing wealth and start bending it toward you. You will become unreadable, untouchable, unstoppable. Picture it. While others panic, you wait. While others reveal, you withhold. While others spend, you invest. While others follow stories, you write them. While others beg for wealth, you engineer it. This is the predator's path. It is not kind. It is not fair. It is not easy. But it is the only path that leads to sovereignty over your life, your time, your destiny. The herd will call you selfish. They will call you ruthless. They will call you cold. Good. That is the proof you are no longer theirs to use. Machiavelli wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. And when it comes to wealth, it is better to be untouchable than broke." So the question remains, will you stay prey, or will you become predator?